Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. A little bit inside information edition. Some more Buckeyes have found homes in the free agency. The Bucks are on spring break and they're getting back at it on Monday. So we're talking about some guys that are going to break out this spring. And is Carnell Tate going to be our next first round receiver? We think so. Been watching a lot of film and he is a monster. I don't think people realize how good he is. But he had a real opportunity against Texas and he came in huge. So we're going to show some of the major plays that he made to help us win that game. Wow, what an incredible effort that game was from him. And we're going to take your questions as well. So if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click the little alert bell. If you guys can do something huge for us, please give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Best thing in the world you can do for us to help us out is that right now we're trying to grow all of our platforms. That is one that we are growing. But your help is always appreciated. But again, I just appreciate you guys for being on here each and every night, our core constituents that are on here every night. Appreciate you guys. And shout out to our military folk, as always, paying it forward, which we do. If you guys are active military, if you guys are first responders, police officers, firefighters, and you believe that you qualify for a paid forward membership to buckeyescoop.com, send us an email, buckeyescoop@gmail.com. We'll verify everything. We'll get you guys set up. So with that being said, I bring in my good friend at Nevadabuck. Nevada got some intel on Carnell. He really, it's funny. Like, you always remember the games and the playoffs obviously were incredible, but like I've been going back and watching these games, like the all 22 film, and he is really, really good. And again, I think that the world kind of figured that out, especially in the postseason when he was, there were teams are coming after him heavy, and when I say heavy, I mean legitimate, gargantuan NIL offers to make them the number one. Carnell declined, which I thought was really, really astute, really smart. Ohio State brought it, gave him a really nice package, but in all likelihood, this is his last year before he declares for the draft. But he is a special player. I think he's a cinch first round pick, just like Emeka Egbuka, just like Jackson Smith and Jigba. What are your thoughts on Carnell? Because again, he's a guy that I think he's the most underrated player on the team. Just obviously because the gargantuan shadow of JJ looms large, and JJ will be the guy that's hyped for the Blitnikoff and for the Heisman and everything else. But Carnell is incredibly talented, great kid, and I think he has a huge ceiling this season. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, first, I want to recognize the Ohio State men's basketball team is playing. We know where they're playing Iowa right now. We'll keep you updated on those scores. Last score I saw was Iowa was up by 48-44, 15 minutes to go in the second half. But we will keep you updated on that. So if you want to listen here and get your updates, then you're going to stay in the know. But Carnell, it's been interesting. I had a long talk with somebody really close to Carnell from on the agent side, and he was like, Carnell, because we had heard that Carnell was going to go to Oregon. Carnell was going to go be with his girlfriend. Carnell had one foot out the door. Carnell wanted to be the number one, and this guy told me that really wasn't true. That that they wanted him to up their NIL commitment to him, and Ohio State did, and it was kind of an uneventful type. There wasn't a lot of drama. There wasn't even a lot of negotiation. That they'd asked for something, they felt it was fair. Ohio State met it and kind of got there. So he's like, look, I know it seemed like there was like all these intrigue, and was he going to be there? Was he going to be leaving? But to him, he wasn't ever going to be leaving. And given the way that these NIL deals are structured and how much money's out there, yeah, I'm sure glad we got him because to your point, he's super underrated and super talented, and a guy that's poised for a really, really big year. Obviously in that Emeka role this season, but he's going to see a lot of balls because JJ is going to absolutely demand double coverage at all times. And when that happens, the other guys have got to pick it up, and that's got to be Max Clare, that's got to be Carnell Tate, that's got to be Brandon Innes, that's got to be Mylan Graham, et cetera, et cetera. Because teams can't play JJ one-on-one. I mean, Notre Dame literally lost a national championship by trying to stay true to their identity, and we only play man, and this is what we do, and we're going to put our guy on an island, and they paid for it. So I think Carnell is a guy. He's he's somewhat fallen under the radar here because of the massive talent in the wide receiver room, but no longer. I mean, he's going to have a big year in 2025, and he will be the next first round wide receiver out of Ohio State because JJ can't come out for 2 more years. He's next in line. He's going to be the one. And as you said, when you go back and watch the tape, man, he's awfully good. He's smooth, catches nearly everything except for that one wide open touchdown pass where Will hit him in the hands. But he doesn't drop many, and he's poised to have a big season in 2025.
Yeah, and he's good at working, I guess, all levels of the field. I found a clip, I think his first sketch against Texas, was kind of diagramming some stuff. Obviously, you got this big overhang over here when you've got JJ out here. The safety, the corner. I mean, they're doing everything they can to take him away. So Carnell just runs a little drag route right here where he sits down. He recognizes it's zone coverage. When it's a zone, if you see zone, you just want to hitch up right here and stop, show him your hands, give Will a nice, easy. I mean, again, they're zone dropping. So there's this huge area that he's working. And again, Will, he checks it down to him. So simple, so easy. He's not scared to go in the middle of the field because he's a big kid. I mean, he's not a slight kid. He's added a little bit of weight, strength, speed, to work the middle of the field. But this is something that, again, like when they take JJ away, and again, this is a good job by Tigres hanging in there, a little tight. Again, this is, people want to tell me that Will Howard can't play the NFL. I'm like, well, look at this throw he makes. I mean, he's got literally a defensive tackle, literally as he's releasing the ball, right? Like look at that. Look at this window he's got to throw through to get it to Carnell. I mean, again, people that aren't watching the film say, "Oh, that's an easy throw. It's a short pass and right in front of him." But look what's right in front of him as he's throwing it. I mean, his delivery goes right through this guy, and he's got to fade back, and he throws it right on the numbers. Perfect throw. Which again, I like watching snaps like this for a guy like Will Howard because these are the kind of pockets you get in the NFL. Like you don't get these big, clean, gorgeous pockets all the time. There's always a pass rusher that's worrisome or beats somebody. You got a practice squad at guard or tackle. But again, he works the middle of the field, super smart, gets down, moves the chains. And I'll find some more of these, but his game is so good. And the reason why I think he's going to be, ultra productive this year is because every team's going to go to take away JJ. I mean, they have to. And I thought Texas had the best scheme we saw all year. Obviously, Michigan defended us better than anybody, but I thought that was more of the running game, interior stuff than it was the rest. And I really do think that Will Howard was injured after that hit that he took early in the game. But, when you saw what Texas did and they took JJ out of it, Carnell's the guy that kind of unlocked the offense and helped get us to the national championship. Obviously, our defense was spectacular that game, but it was tough sledding, and Texas was an excellent team. I thought they were the second best team in the country by the end of the year. But yeah, I think Carnell's his upside, he's got to be a leader. He's not a real vocal kid, but he's played a lot. I mean, he's played a lot since his freshman year, and he's not scared of the bright lights. And when we really needed him, like against Texas, when they were doing everything they could to take away JJ, he's fantastic. So I really like what we're hearing about Carnell. I think he might be the nicest kid on the team. Really good kid. He dealt with incredible tragedy when his mother was murdered in Chicago. And he's just put his nose down and worked, and obviously has a young sibling to take care of. So he's easy to root for. And if you ever met the kid, he's about as good as it gets. So I just, like I said, I thought the more I watched him, the more I'm just like, we got to really start highlighting this kid. Cause I just don't think that, and again, with JJ and the immense shadow that he casts, I don't know, if he'll ever get the type of love that he deserves, but he should be all Big Ten this year. And it's hard to have two guys on all Big Ten because I'm sure JJ will make it too, but that's the level of player he is. Nevada, any other thoughts on Carnell? And again, spring ball, it's here Monday. So I mean, it's like you're going to blink and it's going to be the first spring practice and season's here. So it's amazing. And your thoughts on that. And then I'm going to break down my favorite play of the season.
Well, I think with Carnell, one of his underrated skills is his blocking. I mean, he's a good to very good, route runner. got good to very good hands, good size, good catch radius, good strength. But he's a willing blocker, and he was in the middle of some those. I always talk about the Trey Henderson 75-yard touchdown play, how it wasn't blocked up. It wasn't 7 blocks of granite, but it was some guys getting in good spots and shielding guys off, and he was part of that madness as well. So I I love wide receivers that are willing blockers, because if you don't have them, you don't break long running plays. You just don't, and those guys get caught. And it was a source of frustration for us, a lot during the 2023 season, where we'd see plays where guys get caught, and if we'd have just had one more block, it would have been something. And in a weird way, we were 1 or 2 blocks away from beating Missouri in the Cotton Bowl, and if we beat Missouri in the Cotton Bowl, maybe it doesn't force all these changes. So I just it so for love of some missed blocks, maybe there was some better opportunity that came down the road. But when Chip Kelly lit into Brian Hartline, lit into the wide receivers about being better blockers, about you're blocking with the same enthusiasm that other guys do when they're running routes and running passes, it clearly made an impact on Carnell. And he he really turned it up. And I think he's the total package, and he's going to be the total package for Ohio State in 2025, and for some some really good NFL team in 2026.
Yeah, I think that's it's an important highlight, just because I think blocking is such no receiver comes to Ohio State to block. Like, we get that, and we've heard, like I said, there was I don't want to say like a stigma, or there was like this thing that seemed to be contagious in that wide receiver room, where it was like, like if you block, you're like being a try hard, or you're risking injury or whatever. Because I mean, our blocking was just atrocious the year before Chip Kelly showed up, and it hurt. And I think that Brian allowed that, which again, it's his room, and again, that's fine. And he's put a lot of guys in the league and done a great job. But Chip Kelly showed up and said, "You guys are going to block," and he made it very clear that, like, hey, if Quinshawn and Trey Henderson have to do blitz pickup and pick up, Sonny Styles blitzing in the A gap, which is no fun, then you guys have to block the perimeter when they're carrying the ball too. Because again, like, blitz pickup sucks for running backs. Like, that's why Trey Henderson made it into an art form where he would just decapitate blitzing linebackers. Because again, like, running backs want to carry the ball, they want to score touchdowns, they want to get the glory. But when you do the dirty stuff like blitz pickup, which again, it sucks. Like, when you have to sit there and try to absorb a blitz from Sonny Styles, who's 6'5" and 240 pounds, like, that sucks. But they got really good at it because Carlos Loughlin is militant about these guys being pass blockers, and he wants physicality, which is going to it's a great segue into my favorite play of the entire year, which I'm about to break down for you guys. But that's the thing that really changed with our receivers, is like, all of a sudden 2,000-yard rushes. I'm like, well, yeah, because our receivers started blocking this year. So magically those 20-yard runs turned into 60-yard runs. So every single, average and metric skyrocketed, which was great. And again, I'm proud of the guys. And I think that, when NFL guys turn on the tape and they see, the effort our guys block with, both running backs and receivers, it's refreshing. Because again, I watch the NFL every Sunday, and I watch I watch Jamar Chase, and I watch Justin Jefferson, and I watch all those guys, and they don't break a nail blocking, which again, that's fine. I get that they get paid $40 billion a year to be receivers and to move the chains and score touchdowns, whatever. And they feel like they'd be stupid if they got hurt blocking somebody. But it's like I always say, like, when you're on the football field, if you get hurt, that's just meant to be. Like, you could be preventative, but I always felt like, I'm like, look, if I go hard on the field, then I feel like I reduce my risk of injury. Now, again, as an offensive lineman, it's hard to you can't really take a play off. As a receiver, you can. You could knock him off the ball, and if it's a run to the other side of the field and you're the receiver to the left and they run it to the right, like, you could just stand there, and guys in the NFL do that all the time. But our guys were taking cracks at guys, and I told Brandon this, I'm like, dude, like, go decapitate somebody, go take someone's head off out there. You want to earn the respect of Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and those guys, like, go knock someone's block off. Because That's what Brian Hart. That's the funniest thing. That's what Brian Hartline did. Brian Hartline was a ferocious blocker when he was a young player in the league or at Ohio State, and he ran down on special teams. Like he did whatever it took to make the team better and to make a name for yourself. And again, sometimes again, like with these running backs, and again, this is why I love Carlos Loughlin. Is he talks about his guys are going to play special teams, like his guys are going to run down on kickoff, his guys are going to be on punt coverage, because I think that's where it's a great place for young players to make their name is on special teams. Now, you can't really do that as an offensive lineman because you're not, no lineman's running down on kickoff or covering punts. But if you're that middle body type of tight ends, linebackers, running backs, some receivers, not all receivers, like bigger receivers, like playing those special teams and, running through a guy, getting a tackle, being a howitzer on those coverage units, like it's a great way to make a name for yourself. And again, you'll gain the attention of Ryan Day faster doing that than pretty much anything, because it just proves that you're a team player, and you're not about just your own personal glory. You're about doing what's best for the team. And again, that's what I love. So I'm gonna break down my favorite play. You guys probably have seen this one before. You guys know this one for sure. But it's a good highlight of Carnell Tate. It's an incredible highlight of Quinshon. This will be on his draft reel. Here's Carnell down here, and he's got about a 9-second block down here. But this is the best play we run. This is this is the orbit motion to Trey. Quinshon becomes the fullback lead blocker, and we just run a full zone this way. And the crazy thing is, Texas runs the worst blitz you could ever run. They run an internal pressure, which is they run a little cross dog in here. I'm gonna do that backwards. Yeah, I did it backwards. So they run a cross dog, which is where he goes first, he goes second. So when we're running out here, that's the greatest. I mean, you couldn't pick a better defense to run this into, because like they're running a double internal pressure and we're running right to the to like the 9 hole. But when you watch this, you hand it to Quinshon, or excuse me, you hand it to Trey. Quinshon kills this guy. So this is the guy you need to watch right here. This safety, and Quinshon's got the 11-foot broad jump, and just broad jumps through his soul. And I mean, he's like standing over him. Like this is like you set the tone. Quinshon, it just kills him, stands over him, lets them know that this isn't you're not playing Oklahoma, or you're not playing one of the soft Big 12 schools or one of the soft SEC schools. And then you got Carnell. I mean, Carnell's holding this block. He engages here, and it's like 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Lets them go, so there's no hold. But this is like the epitome of team. Like when you see, Quinshon, who's one of the 3 best running backs in the draft, Trey coming around. These guys run this internal pressure where it's here and here. It's so funny because you watch Luke. I mean, these guys are all zone blocking. They think they're working here to here to here to here, and these guys take themselves out of the play. So it turns into, I mean, Donnie climbs up to the safety. So I mean, they're up the creek here with this call. So you watch it, and you see, as soon as they run this pressure, man, like Luke and Donnie, like that's, Donnie's guy is in here. He's dead. He's gone. So Donnie like climbs up to him. And then you have this wall of humanity. G. Scott does a great job here. G. Scott's got a very difficult block to not get called for holding, because he's out in the middle of the island right here. You watch G, but he gets his hands going, does a great job. And again, I'm fair, because I was critical of G early. This is fantastic by him. And then the highlight here is Quinshon. They're just killing this guy, putting him on the ground, standing over. I mean, look at Quinshon. He's probably not saying anything G-rated here, but he's standing over the guy that he just killed. And yeah. And then obviously the guy that we're talking about the most is Carnell and Trey. But Carnell gets a good block, does not get a holding call, which is tough. Again, really smart here, because when this guy, when Trey gets past him and he's got a hand on him and he's going to spin out and go to pursue, Carnell just lets him go. Which again, you could say, oh, that's lazy or that's dumb or whatever. But I used to always tell guys, like offensive tackles and stuff, like when you're at the point of attack, like when we would run like a zone play to my side, like an outside zone where my block was the block that basically would kind of determine where the run went. If I would hook the guy where we could run outside, we'd do that. Or if the guy wanted to run the sideline, then he'd cut it back inside. Like there's a point in every block where you know that the back is getting close to you. You can kind of feel it just based on timing. And there's a point where you have, if the guy has a certain leverage on you, or if he's loose, or you don't have great hand placement on him, that it's better just to let him go, and if he tackles your running back for a gain of 7, because you got to let him go. Because like if I had Beanie, and Beanie's runs a 4.3, and he gets out on the edge, and the guy is sprinting to the edge, and I'd just let Beanie get past him and go get 6 or 7 yards. And if my guy makes a tackle for a gain of 7, that's better than grabbing him when you're at the point of attack and the referee saying you pull the jersey. If you pull the jersey or the breastplate, if you guys have seen a pair of shoulder pads, which all you guys have, like that front chest plate, if it gets stretched and they see that arm come across there, I know all the tells of a holding call. So, if you could minimize those or let them go at the right time, then you'll never get called. Which again, I became like an artist at that, because I've told you guys a million times. I took, I needed like a kind of a silly elective to take to get 2 credit hours in just a general subject. So I took officiating football. That's a class at Ohio State. And I knew girls that were like, I know a girl that's a dentist that took hip hop dancing, and there's all kinds of strange electives at Ohio State that people take that are just kind of like fun classes. But like officiating football was the best class I think I ever took, because I learned exactly what officials looked at, especially for my position. Cause I'd sit there and I'd look at the rules and I'd ask questions and say, what am I allowed to get away with? What am I not allowed to get away with? Because that's part of the art to being really good. It's the same thing as like when you watch really good NBA players, like they know what kind of contact they can draw that'll get a call versus not get a call, the flow of the game. So I don't know, but I love watching Carnell there, because he lets the guy go, and he probably wasn't even thinking that way. But I'm telling you, there's a time in every play where if you hold on for another second, you're going to get flagged, and it's going to be a loss of 10, and it's going to be 1st and 20 or 2nd and 20 or whatever. And it's going to take that nice run off the board, or you can let the guy go and go let the yardage stand and convert and get a first down. So that's my favorite play of the entire season, because I love Quinshawn, or he kills that guy. And I like Carnell, and I loved the 2 running back set. I mean, that's like something I would run in Madden if I had these 2 guys. I would never let those 2 guys leave the field, because I thought they were so talented. Nevada, any thoughts on that play? Because that was again, that's my favorite play of the year.
Okay. Update on the game. Iowa up 61-58, 7 minutes to go. Just a little update on the game. Yeah, love the play. The 2 back set was something that we were talking about last year at this time, about how they were talking about doing it, and I think people were like, "Oh yeah, maybe they'll see that once in a blue moon." But Ohio State ran that quite a bit. I mean, they liked it. They liked what they got out of it, and one of the reasons it worked so well was our guys blocked well on the edge, like the wide receivers, and obviously Trey and Quinshawn had some devastating blocks from the running back position. So. We were a really good blocking team, and enabled us to do some of those things. And it's those little unselfish plays that I like. I think it tells you a lot about a football player. How hard they go when they don't have the ball, and that's the little stuff. I talk to coaches all the time that are going out to examine players for Division I scholarships, and they're like, I like to go to a game where it's going to be a blowout, and the guys on the sideline, because I want to watch what their demeanor is. Are they involved? Are they cheering on the other guys? Are they, what are they doing? How good of a teammate are they? And one way you can show you're a good teammate is you don't have the ball, but you're enthusiastically, leading, blocking, holding the block on the edge, not being lazy, not getting a penalty. And, Carnell did that over and over and over again. And I think that's one of the reasons why he endeared himself to the Ohio State staff and the Ohio State players, was because he's super unselfish. As you said, might be the nicest kid on the team, and supremely talented. So it's a great combination, and that's why he's going to end up here as a great wide receiver.
Well, yeah, I think you have to have a certain type of disposition to, be a guy who obviously is expected to take the next step and potentially be, the number 2 behind Emeka. But then, I mean, he knew what was coming with JJ. I mean, they played on South Florida Express together. I mean, they knew that, Godzilla was going to show up to campus. And so, but there's a certain type of guy that wouldn't take it the right way. If a true freshman is the featured guy and he's the hype monster and he's the number one target in the offense, which he should be. But there's some guys that they don't take that the right way, and they take it like it's a slight, or it's it should be me, or I could go somewhere else and be the one. But I just always like thought like the mentality, like for me, like I was always like, the more great players we have, the better. Like, when we had Santonio Holmes and Ted Ginn and Anthony Gonzalez and whatever, like I never really heard a guy like Gonzo complain about his touches or whatever, because it was more about just what's the easiest way for us to win? How do we keep producing? How do we keep pushing the ball down the field? If it's Antonio Pittman's day or Beanie Wells' day, or if it's whoever's day, and they all had days. Like Gonzo had an incredible day versus Iowa both times we played him in 05-06. Teddy had his games where he was incredible. Obviously, Santonio took over the Michigan game in 05. And I think that that's something that's great about this room. Now, I think that it's silly to me sometimes when some of these NFL geniuses don't realize how important it is to have guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba and guys like Emeka Egbuka that are truly great teammates. They're not statistic oriented. They're guys that play their role. They're unselfish. Because for the life of me, I can't figure out why Emeka's not a top 15 pick like lock. I can't figure it out. And again, maybe I'm just brain dead, or I'm just Mr. Bobby Buckeye Scarlet glasses on, but Emeka checks every single box. Incredible athlete, incredible teammate, skill set to die for as a slot receiver. Again, we've said that he's Jackson Smith and Jigba 2.0. Like Jackson Smith and Jigba should have been a top 10 pick. I mean, he's a Pro Bowler already as a young receiver. And I mean, he's a guy that everyone's going to crawl over broken glass to take in their fantasy drafts. I mean, he's probably a first or second round pick in fantasy this year because he's the only guy. He's Sam Darnold's only receiver, because they got rid of DK Metcalf, they got rid of Lockett, and so I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba's going to have like a Justin Jefferson type year next year with Darnold feeding him, and he's going to be year 3. I mean, this is going to be an absolute explosion. But I think that's what Emeka can do. Like that's why some of these teams, I just really question why he's not a top 15 guy. And I think that's good. That's going to be Carnell in a year. I think in a year, Carnell's going to come out, with his toughness and his versatility and his skill set, his height, range, speed, just his look. I mean, he's an athletic, like super freak. Now, the problem, like I always say, like the problem is like JJ is the freakiest receiver maybe that's ever played. So it's hard when you stand next to him, but any other day, Carnell's the guy that you're talking about. But yeah, I'm just excited. Like I said, I think that he's a kid that has been through a lot. He's really easy to root for. I think that when you hear Urban Meyer talk about like we never had a guy like 17. I'm like, I mean, Urban's been around some guys, but I mean, you're 17 and 4 are different cats. So all comes down to Julian Sain. But I'm just so excited for the kid. And I think he's got this incredible potential that's going to be amazing. Nevada, do you want to give a basketball game update again for the 7 people that care?
I mean, I care. It's 63-61 Iowa with 5:55 to go. And yeah, I mean, hey, anything Ohio State. I mean, I'm a sucker, man. If it's Ohio State men's hockey, I'll watch. Women's hockey, I'll watch. Lacrosse, I'll watch anything Ohio State. So yeah, I hope they win so they can continue on, so we get more games and do stuff.
I hope they win too. I mean, like I'm telling you, it's been a roller coaster of a season, and obviously everyone wants Ohio State to win at everything just because it's part of the fabric, and it's always fun to have them play another game and try to keep advancing. But it's going to be an interesting offseason for them, and seeing what they do with this roster. But we got a couple super chats. Any thoughts? We can wrap this this segment up as I'm still digging for some Carnell stuff.
Yeah, no, I just think it's always fun to think about those players and talk about the guys. I like the dark horse candidates, the guys that are the rookies and the youngsters that are stepping up, but the guys that are kind of on the borderline of greatness. I mean, obviously Carnell figured prominently in our success last year. third leading receiver on the team. But I really think he's going to take a big jump because, like I said, with Emeka gone and with JJ, I mean JJ at the beginning of last year, people didn't really know what to make of him because they just hadn't seen him. And by the end of the year, teams were just dedicating so many resources to stopping him that it really forced the ball in other directions. And I think with Julian, especially, I mean, Julian's a guy that's thrown a lot to Carnell. He's thrown a lot to Mylan Graham. He's thrown a lot. They've spent a lot of time together. He was his quarterback at South Florida Express. So I think that there's a connection there. There's a bond there that goes beyond just the Ohio State football field. And I just think Carnell, if you're playing fantasy football with wide receivers, obviously JJ's your Marmaduke. But man, I think Carnell's going to have a really big year. And I think he definitely is going to assert himself, be a first round type of receiver. And it's fun when you see good things happen to good people. And Carnell is definitely good people. And he's going to do some good things for us as fans.
Yeah, I got another catch. This is maybe I don't want to say the catch of his season, but this one was pretty exquisite where he drags the toes here. So you got this little high-low thing. You come up here, Carnell's under, corner sinks. Will Howard rips the throw. Carnell just curls right there, nice and easy. So yeah, I mean, you put this corner in a spot where you're here, and he's got a, if he goes a little too far back, then Will whips that in there and drags the toes, gets the catch. I'll get the close angle, but again, like this is elite stuff. He's you got Mecca's clearing it here, so you got Mecca's got the deeper, then you got Carnell gets his eyes around, Will drops it. Will Howard, who can't throw, I guess, throws it literally perfect. I mean, that's perfection. And Carnell drags the toes, ball. I don't know how you do it any better than that. That's impossible to cover, is what it is. So again, I watch plays like that, and I'm like, do people really know how good this guy is? And again, everyone watched that in real time, but sometimes you just go back and when you watch the L22 film, you can see a lot of stuff like how hard do they run? How hard do they run when they're not the first option or second option? How hard do they run when it's a runaway? And he plays with incredible effort, and he likes to play physical, play nasty. But God, he's smooth. I mean, he's a special player, and I don't think we say his name enough. I really don't. Like I go through like all the players that were really good on this team last year, and it's like I always come back to like, did we talk about how good Carnell was? Because I don't really feel like we do. Because obviously we had 2,000-yard rushers, 2,000-yard receivers, and then Carnell was the next one, and he was a guy that on any other team he would have probably been 1,300 yards, easy, 10 touchdowns. But here it's, I mean, like I said, with the number of mouths we had to feed, it's almost astonishing the numbers that we would put up, especially when we didn't go that fast this year. We huddled, which again, we hadn't huddled in a long time. Kind of a slower pace of play to kind of preserve the bodies and play less offensive snaps. So to put the numbers up that we did, running as few plays as we did is incredible. So we got a super chat, Nevada. Let's get into this real quick. Ian Bates, thank you for the 5. Oh, wow, that's way too small. I don't know why I did that. Let me get this up for you. You say, thank you for the 5, my friend. It says, if you watch Carnell Tate, his game mimics Justin Jefferson. He may even be faster. Technical route runner, great hands, and he'll be a superstar in the NFL. Nevada, how does that feel for a comparison for you with Carnell Tate?
Well, that's a lofty comparison. Obviously, comparing to the best wide receiver in the NFL, but I like the comparison better to Jackson Smith and Jigba because I think I think he's more Jackson Smith and Jigba than Justin Jefferson, but he's elite. I mean, he's elite. And, it's amazing to have a guy that's that good, that's that talented. That really isn't on the tip of people's mind when they're talking about, he was, I'm not saying he's just a guy, but he was the third option last year. And that's kind of crazy, but he certainly checks all the boxes if you compare him side by side from a size perspective, from a wingspan perspective, from a speed perspective. he's certainly comparable with any of the elite wide receivers in the NFL, and certainly right up there with Justin Jefferson as well. Will he be as good or as productive? I mean, obviously, time will tell, but uh, I buy stock in him. Certainly for the 2025 college season and beyond for the NFL season, because I just think guys like this that are of high character like he is, I just don't see their bust potential really. Their bust condition really is injury, and that goes for every player in the NFL. But I think short of that, I see just no way that Carnell Tate is not successful at the next level and at an extremely high level.
Yeah, and I think that the situation matters. I mean, obviously that's what I always tell guys is like, when a receiver goes to the right place, then magically things can happen. Like Justin Jefferson is fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic. But I think that Kevin O'Connell, who's the NFL Coach of the Year this year, his offense is very throw heavy. His scheme is excellent. And they've had pretty good quarterback play. I mean, with Kirk Cousins and with Darnold, who just got paid a ton to go to the Seahawks. I think that that helps. If you get that really sharp offensive mind that can scheme you open, and then you take advantage of the opportunities. I mean, because the guy still has to go run and catch. He has to get loose, get a clean release and go run and catch the ball and produce. But I think that something that's kind of interesting is like, Justin Jefferson is obviously fantastic and had a huge national championship game in his last game at LSU. I think he had 4 touchdowns. But most people were more infatuated with Jamar Chase, who I think, last year he was Triple Crown. He's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL after he gets a steal done with the Bengals. But like, that's why the Jefferson thing, it was kind of, it was a great comparison, but I think that it's kind of going to be kind of like one of those things where, it's amazing the parallels, because Justin Jefferson came out after his junior year, and then Jamar Chase still had a year left, which he ended up sitting out because of the COVID stuff. So it's kind of like JJ is got another year to go after this year, much like Chase did. So that's a very interesting comparison. But I think a lot of it depends upon how does our quarterback do this year. I can't imagine Brian Hartline's not going to throw the crap out of the ball. So I think the numbers are going to be there, and I think it's going to be a huge year for these guys. Nevada, who are you most excited to see in the throwing game outside of JJ and Carnell? Because there's some great candidates with Brandon Inniss, with Max Clare, with Mylan Graham. There's some. That's as terrifying of a lineup as you could ever put out on the field, especially with what Max Clare is going to bring to the passing game. Again, I've watched a lot of his film, and I've watched I think every Purdue game, and especially the Penn State game where he really was dominant. Who are you most excited to see after the top 2 big dogs?
Well, to have we've talked about how we haven't had a first team All-American tight end rather since 1970, and do I think we'll have a first team All-American tight end? I just don't know if we throw enough to the tight end, but maybe it's one of those things because we've never had an offensive coordinator that loved the pass as much as Brian Hartline, and we never had a talent quite like Max Clare, and a new quarterback who might be checking out a lot to the tight end. So I think it's Max. I just think it's the whole activation of the tight end position that is so exciting to me, because we've seen what great wide receiver play looks like at Ohio State, and obviously, thinking about what JJ is going to be like in his second year or his third year, or or Carnell or Brandon Inniss or Mylan Graham or any of the those guys, that's exciting. But the tight end is like a whole brave new world for us, because we just don't use the tight end that much, and to have a guy like Max, to have him come in here, in this season when we to have a veteran outlet like that, I just think it's so important for a young quarterback. I think, gun to my head, you ask me what I'm most excited about, it's going to be Max Clare. I want to see how Brian utilizes him. I want to see us, hit those, 7, 8, 9, 10-yard catches with the tight end and just keep moving the change. And I love that. I've always felt that was a missing piece. That and the screen pass was a missing piece from our arsenal. And this year, like I don't know how many screens we threw. It wasn't very many, but we threw that one against Texas, and it goes for a touchdown. Hopefully we have a similar impact with tight end play this year in 2025 because I think that's been missing, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I think you're right about the. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to win the Mackey. It's going to be hard for him to be first team All American just because there's always a team that has a tight end who's just better than the other skill guys. Like again, like Bowling Green, like Harold Fannin, who's from Canton McKinley, should have won the Mackey Award. If you look up his statistics, he had maybe the best statistical season in the last, like, I don't know if it's 20, 25 years as a tight end. Um, an ungodly number of catches. I'm actually going to look it up just for my benefit because, I thought he got hosed. They gave it to Tyler Warren, and Tyler Warren is, a first round pick. He's a better overall player. He'll be drafted higher than Harold Fannin, but it's not about, your NFL draft potential when they hand out an award. It's about who had the best season in general. And Fannin's numbers. Let me look these up because he had last season. You ready for this? 117 receptions, 1,555 yards, 10 touchdowns as a tight end, which is just insane. Like, I mean, I don't know if our tight ends have had 117 catches in the last 4 seasons, but he had it in one season. So that's why, like, again, when you're looking at bets of who could make All-American, like, I think Max Clare could easily be the best tight end in the country next year, but is he going to get that amount of target hog, that volume of looks in the throw game? Because he was clearly their number one option. And when you're at Ohio State and we've got JJ, we've got Carnell, we've got Ennis, we've got James Peoples, we've got CJ Donaldson, like it's just, there's just not enough footballs to go around. Where when you're at a max, or even Penn State, I mean, Penn State, their receivers were just atrocious. And Tyler Warren was really good. And so he'll have a game where he has 20 catches versus USC, and he'll have those high volume target share games where our guys just, frankly, no matter how good they are, if they're Jeremy Ruckert, who's back with the Jets, and Cade Stover, who's a 3rd round pick, like they're never going to get that many targets. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see Max Clare. I'm excited to see Brandon Ennis, man. Brandon Ennis is a guy, was the number 1 receiver in the country, is the guy that waited his turn. But he's a juice monster, man. He is a ball of trash talking South Florida energy out on the field. And I think honestly, this offense needs him. I mean, this offense needs him to have, to inflict his attitude on the rest of these guys. Cause just cause he hasn't started and played a lot doesn't mean he's not going to act like hasn't been, a 3-year All-American and 1st round pick. Cause again, it's his draft year too. I mean, him and Carnell, they make no bones about the fact that they wanted to be 3 and out and off to the league and everything. And I'm good with it. Like, I mean, if they can ball out to the point where they're both 1st round picks or 1st and 2nd round picks, then it only makes Ohio State better when our guys play good enough to be high draft picks. Nevada, your thoughts on Brandon Ennis? Because he's a guy that I've been dying to see on the field. He's been log jammed behind some really good players. But your thoughts on BI?
Well, first of all, Iowa up 72-70 with 35 seconds to go. So that game tight down to the event. No, Ennis, he's a guy that only played in spot action, but, another guy who's a ferocious blocker, as you said, came in with, super high credentials. You don't get higher than, number 1 wide receiver in the entire country. And, no, I think he's another guy that Julian's thrown to a lot, and I think that's a big underrated thing because Julian wasn't throwing to Carnell and Emeka and to JJ as much, but when you're the backup guy, you're throwing to Milan Graham, you're throwing to Brandon Ennis, you're throwing to some of the other guys, and I think that you develop that chemistry from 7-on-7 and through here to Ohio State, and I think there'll be a familiarity with Brandon, and I think Brandon could take a really nice step. He's been a guy that's bided his time. I think got a little bit of a late start here because he couldn't be an early entrant because of the rules with this high school, and he couldn't get out early. And so I think he's a guy that I wouldn't say that put him behind, but it kind of does. And nowadays if you're not coming in January, you're almost, behind the curve kind of situation with Milan Graham. So I think Brandon's going to have a big impact in 2025. And, certainly a talented kid, certainly a kid that's easy to root for. And as we've talked about many, many times, with JJ drawing as much attention, the other guys have got to step up because they're going to be open. And, Julian's going to be looking at him to get them the ball, and it's going to be time for Brandon to contribute. So I think he's another guy ready to have a big step forward in 2025.
Game over.
Game.
77-70 Iowa.
Oh boy.
I don't know why our guys can't ever shoot. Our guys just can't shoot. So again, like, as much as I love Ohio State basketball, like, I'm gonna take about 30 seconds here. Our guys shot 42% from the field. Iowa shot 54%. And then the better one is the 3-point line. Iowa shot 41% from 3-point. We shot 22%. On top of, they shot 90% on free throws, and we shot 75%. So, I mean, 75% is atrocious for a major college basketball team, but shooting 22% at 3-point is like, that's like me at the rec center. So there's my run back on that. It's officially spring football season, so we don't have to talk about basketball for a hot minute, because I don't think we're not going to make the tournament after that. But I don't know. It's sad. I don't know if this is the right staff, but we'll see. I mean, this is who we hired, but Jesus Christ. Nevada, no more super chats. I think we're getting pretty close. We probably wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts, Nevada? Wrap the show up.
If you like coffee, BuckeyeScoopBrew.com. Check it out. All proceeds go to Pay It Forward. Got some great coffee there, getting some great feedback, breaking the records with sales. Going to be looking for it at your local Kroger's on top of that. So if you get a chance, if you like coffee, try it out, because we want to get your feedback. We want to see how it is. BuckeyeScoopBrew.com. Check it out. And sorry about the basketball Buckeyes, but hey, after we won the national championship in 2024, nothing can wipe the smile off my face. Even the Buckeyes losing in basketball. And hey, it's always football season at BuckeyeScoop.com. So I'm ready for the spring game.
Yeah, I mean, we won the national championship. Spring football starts Monday, and inflation's going down. Like, I don't know what else I could ever ask for. So life is really good right now to be in the state of Ohio and being an Ohio State fan. So we'll wrap this thing up. Again, we appreciate you guys being a part of our show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any thoughts, leave those down in the comments. Shout out to my Southern Ohio boys. Scoop meetup. Would you guys want to show up? I need to get a head count. Put that down in the comments if you guys want to roll. Also, as always, if you guys enjoy our content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, I appreciate all that you guys do as we continue to grind into spring football. It is coming, and it's going to be absolutely awesome. Cannot wait to cover everything and get the eyeballs in spring practice that always are great and give us a little bit of intel on what's going on. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.